Hello, Clearview Public Schools community. My name's Mark Siemens. I'm Director of Human Services for Clearview. And one of my roles is I get to kind of help lead our school with regards to safety. And tonight, I have been asked to make a video about masks. And so I've recruited my family here to help me out. I've got three of my daughters joining us, and they are proud Clearview School students. So on my left side here is Alexi. On my other side is Katrina. And then on my far right is Annika. And we've received lots of questions about masks, and my daughters tonight are going to ask us some of those questions. The neat thing about masks is they are one of our key strategies for helping us have a safe and successful return when students come back on Monday. And we are pumped to have you, and we're looking forward to you being back in the building. But the neat things of masks is it's like when you wear a mask, it's a gift to someone else because you are preventing your germs from going to them. So it's not about so much about protecting yourself, it's about protecting those other people in our school community. So we really want to take a little time today just to talk about the importance of masks and how to use them well in our school environment.
Hey Dad, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Alexi.
Who needs to wear a mask?
That's a great question. So at the beginning of August, the government of Alberta made it mandatory for all our grade 4 to 12 students and our staff to wear masks. And they kind of identified three main times they need to. When students and staff are in common areas, there's just a worry that when there's common areas that there might be groups of students and distancing might not be possible. The other spot is in hallways. Students, when they're traveling past each other, need to make sure that they're wearing masks. And then also there's a time when they're working closely with others. That's the last time that students have to wear masks. So if you're in grade 4 to 12, when you're at school, you can expect to wear a mask in those situations. Now, there is one other spot that grade 4 to 12 students will need to wear a mask, and that's if they take the bus. So if you are a bus student, you also need to wear a mask. Now, for kindergarten to grade 3 students, you do not have to wear a mask in any of those three situations. And as well, you don't have to wear a mask on the bus. Okay? But if you want to wear a mask, you are more than welcome to wear a mask at any time in Clearview Public Schools.
Hey Dad,
Yeah, Annika.
do I need to buy a mask before going to school this year?
Oh, great question. So this year, when the government announced that masks were mandatory, they also stated that they would purchase 2 masks for every student. So actually at your schools right now, our order has arrived. There is 2 masks waiting for every single student. And so you don't need to buy a mask if you don't want. The only hiccup in this plan is for our bus students. So if you hop on the bus that first day, if you could use at least a disposable mask, that would be great. So that would allow you to wear a mask while on the bus. And then you can get your 2 new masks when you arrive at school. Now, if people want to buy masks, they're more than welcome to. I know people like to buy masks with fun designs and different things like that. So if you want to buy a mask, go for it. We encourage it. But just remember a couple things. The government asks that your masks have multiple layers. So a single layer mask just is not appropriate for our school environment. So one thing we've heard is that some of those neck warmers or gaiters that people wear and they pull them up when they need to and they pull them down. If it's a single layered material, it's just not appropriate for a mask at school to help prevent your germs from traveling to others. So if you could follow that, that would be excellent.
I was kind of wondering,
Yeah, Annika.
what is the recommended procedure for putting on and taking off a mask?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what? I'm going to put my kids to work on that one. So, Katrina, why don't you show us how would you put on your mask?
Well, first I would hand sanitize to clean off my hands. And then I would just grab the straps and not
touch the inside of the mask, and then I'll just put it over my face like that.
Great. Thanks, Katrina. Do you know what? You also asked about taking off your mask. So Alexi, you've got your mask on. How would you go about taking off your mask?
First, I would hand sanitize. And then I grab the straps and take it off. And then I'd put it into a clean bag. And then I would hand sanitize again.
Great job, Katrina and Alexi. Thank you for showing us on how to put on our masks and how to take them off.
I was just wondering, how am I going to clean my mask?
That's a good question, Katrina. We encourage masks to be cleaned daily. That would be a great thing. Now, if you have many masks, if you have 4 or 5, you maybe say at the end of the week, we're going to throw all our masks into one load of laundry. The government recommends that you turn the heat up to high, and then you can just air dry them when they're done that way. Now, if you only have the 2 masks, you might have to do some hand washing. And again, same thing, use soap and also use hot water to hand wash it. And you could just hang them up to dry. So hopefully that's some good instructions for you how to clean your mask.
The next question would be, will students need to wear masks while in class?
Oh, this is a tough question. And do you know what? One of the things that I think I've got more phone calls about the last couple days is all these different scenarios in class. And do students need to be wearing a mask during them or not? Well, I'll give you a few ideas. Here's a case where students wouldn't need to wear masks. So for example, if your class is kind of sitting at your desk and your teachers have your desks spaced out farther apart than they normally would, and maybe the teacher's talking at the front and giving some instructions or showing a few examples on the whiteboard or on the projector, this would be an example where you don't need a mask in your school. Maybe it's independent work time and you're doing some math questions on your own, or you're doing some reading by yourself. Masks aren't needed during this time. Now, there are times when masks will be needed. For example, if you need to get some help from the teacher and you go up to the desk and you want to sit closer to them, you're trying to maintain as much distance as possible, but the distance is getting closer than it normally would be, it would be a very appropriate time for masks to be worn in that setting. If we can't keep our spacing the best we can, masks are a really important tool for keeping everyone safe. Now, the tricky thing with school is I've given you some easy examples, like when kids are working quietly at their desk or when people are trying to come close to a teacher for extra help. Now, lots of other things happen in learning, and your teacher is going to do their best to make very reasonable kind of guidelines when masks are being worn and when they're not. And I encourage parents, ask questions to the teacher. When do you make our children or our son or daughter wear a mask? And teachers, I would encourage you, share stories about when masks are being worn in your class and when masks aren't, so that everyone just has a good understanding of how we're using masks in the classroom.
Is there any reason that I wouldn't not have to wear a mask?
Yeah, that's a good question too, and we've been asked that question a few times this year. So, is there cases where students would be exempted from wearing masks? Well, this comes in a few different parts. The government does give us some suggestions on what activities masks are just not appropriate for. So obviously, it's kind of hard to eat or drink with your mask on. So clearly that's an exempted activity where you do not need to wear a mask. Another one would be with a kind of intense physical activity where breathing is really important, and a mask is not appropriate in some of those settings. Now, also there are cases where we may have students where a parent may feel like a mask just might not be appropriate for that student, and if they wish to have an exemption to wearing a mask, we ask that you'd please contact your principal. Now, the principal is going to take a lot of time to really understand why an exemption needs to take place, because we believe masks are just an important piece to keeping our school community safe. So they'll probably ask you many questions, and then after they feel like they have a good understanding of the needs, they will then make some decisions on appropriate accommodation. Now, the document does say a few things where students might be granted an exemption from wearing a mask. One would be if they are unable to put on and take off a mask themselves. So for example, if you have a child for whatever reason just is physically unable to put on a mask or take it off themselves, the government says that person should not wear a mask. And there's many other reasons for both kind of mental health and physical health reasons why a student may be exempted. I'd like to take this opportunity to just thank you for watching this video. I hope that it helped answer some questions about masks, and we sure look forward to having your students join us next Monday. Take care.